Hello again. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another live stream with me, Lar from Complete Test Success. Today's focus is General Training IELTS Writing Task 1. So, general training is far less popular than academic IELTS. The only real difference is the type of texts in the reading test and the Task 1 questions. So today we're looking at IELTS Writing Task 1 for general training. If you're not doing general training IELTS, this lesson isn't going to be very helpful for you. So I wouldn't really see much benefit in participating. You're more than welcome to stay with me. But just in terms of, using your time effectively, especially if you have an IELTS test coming up soon, if you're doing the academic IELTS test, I wouldn't really recommend participating. Kwadam Go, hello to you. Welcome. Good to see you here again. So what we're going to do is we're going to write an Task 1 letter, a general training Task 1 letter together. And I'm going to show you a question. I'm going to get you to write the various parts of the question. And then I'm going to give you feedback on your writing. So, I'll get you to write a part of the letter. You'll share it with me in the comments. I'll tell you if you're making any mistakes. By pointing out your mistakes, that will give you the focus you need when you're studying. You'll know, okay, these are my weaknesses. These are the things I need to fix. So I can give you that information. And I'll also use your writing and piece it together to construct the essay. Okay. So this is the question for today. You recently moved to a new city and started a job. Write a letter to a friend. In your letter, explain why you moved to the new city. Describe your new job. And the last prompt is invite your friend to visit. Now, as with every letter, we're going to have to begin with the greeting. So that's the first thing I would like you to do. Write the greeting for this letter and share it with me in the comments. And if there are any mistakes, I'll be able to tell you. If your greeting is appropriate, I'll add it to the document on our screen here now. And then we'll move on to the next part of the letter. So that's the first thing. Please write the greeting and share it with me in the comments. Okay, I have a question here from Adil. We'll deal with dynamic data. Okay, so this is to do with academic. So I'll just look at this kind of on the side. So Adil, we're focusing on general training IELTS today. So I won't get into the finer details of the academic test because it's going to just disrupt the lesson. But what you can do, if you have a question in mind, you can email me. So there's my email address, lar@completetestsuccess.com. Email me a question that you're looking at, and I will use it in one of the upcoming live streams. So I'll be able to help you with it in that way. Okay, so seems like we don't have many people participating today. But what I can tell you is when we're writing the greeting, there are 3 different types of greeting. So sometimes we're going to have to say, dear sir or madam. In that situation, it will be because the question told us to say that. And typically it would be when we're writing to someone we don't know. Okay, and then we might have a situation where we'll write something like, dear Mr. Ryan. that would be a formal letter. But in this letter, we're writing to a friend. So we would write something like that, something like, Dear Michael. And that's all we need then. It's just the first name because it's an informal letter to a friend. Okay. After that, we're going to write a paragraph addressing the first prompt. The first prompt says, explain why you moved to a new city. Okay. So what I always encourage my students to do is address the first prompt in the first sentence of paragraph 1. Because what happens with some students is, or some candidates, is they'll just start writing kind of more generally without specifically responding to why they moved. So they'll start talking about where they moved or how they feel about it or what they like or what they don't like. But the question didn't ask for any of that. The question specifically said, explain why you moved to the new city. So instead of talking more generally and then getting to the answer to responding to the prompt at the end of the paragraph, what that means is you've responded, but you haven't developed that idea. So I get all my students to just, in the very first sentence, respond to the prompt and then discuss it for the rest. So it's a very common mistake that we see. And that's why I would like you to just write the first sentence of paragraph 1 for me first. And that way I'll just make sure that you're 100% focused on the actual thing that you need to do. Okay, so that's my task for you guys right now. Write the first sentence of paragraph 1, share it with me in the comments, and then I'll have some feedback to help you improve your score. Hi, XIX. It's been a long time. It has indeed. I haven't done, or well, I did one last week, but I hadn't done any live streams for about a month before that. Still training in Singapore. Good on you. I just want you to know that you've contributed much to my academic journey. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, absolutely. And you worked hard as well, XIX. So you have to take a lot of credit. You like to give me a lot of credit, but you need to take some for yourself too, for sure. Good to see you anyway. Okay, I'm just going to wait one more minute. If I don't get any responses, I'll just go ahead and I'll put this letter together myself. Like I said, I haven't been doing live streams for a while, so I think the following has dropped a bit, and general training IELTS is generally not that popular anyway. So usually I don't have that many people attending these lessons. So if I don't have someone participating, that's no problem. I'll just go ahead and put the pieces together, and you guys can ask me questions about anything that's not clear. Okay, Kadam. I just moved to this city due to I found one good job here. Okay, good. The language isn't quite right, but the idea is there. So let me just copy that and I'll add it to the document. So explain why you moved to a new city. So I just moved to, let's give the name of the city. I just moved to Dublin. Now, it's a formal letter. So due to would be more of a formal way to say it. So we want to keep it just neutral or informal. I just moved to Dublin because I found, we wouldn't say one, but I found a good job here. Okay. Now, the next thing is we need to develop our idea. But the problem is, if you look at the second prompt, it says, describe your new job. So when we're developing this prompt, we need to continue talking about why you moved to the new city. But in the next paragraph, we need to describe the new job. So we must avoid describing the new job in our attempt to develop this paragraph. So that's something we need to be very careful with. So I'd like to see how you're going to develop the rest of paragraph 1, but just make sure that you don't end up describing the new job in your development of paragraph 1, because then we'll have nothing to talk about in paragraph 2, or we'll go back and start repeating ourselves in paragraph 2. So just be aware that we're going to try to avoid putting in information that we will need later. Okay, so again, I'll give you guys some time to do that. Share it with me in the comments, and then of course I'll have some feedback for you on any mistakes that you're making. Okay, so attendance is quite low today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in and I'm going to look at this here. Okay, so we want to explain why we moved without actually talking in more detail about the job. So let's say something like this. As you were aware, I had been looking for a new job for quite a while. Because I wasn't happy with the management where I was. This job came up, and although I was originally hesitant to take it because I would need to move to Dublin, I decided in the end that it would be a good choice for me. Maybe it would be good for me, or it would be a good idea. Let's say that. Okay, now in each body paragraph, we're going to write 3 of them. I want to write somewhere about 60 words. That there is 71, so it's a little bit longer than I need, but that's fine. Okay, so then we're going to have to talk about the next job. Describe your new job. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. I'm working as the manager of a department store. Okay, so I just said I wasn't happy with the management, so maybe I'll say the upper management. Okay, I'm working as the manager of a department store, so it's quite similar to what I was doing previously, but this store has about twice as many staff members. So I have more people to oversee, and means that I need to develop my management skills, or maybe I will need to, or I'll need to develop my management skills further. to do my job effectively. As you know, I'm always looking for ways to improve, so this challenge is very exciting. Me. Okay. So now I've described my new job. All right. And then we have the last prompt. Invite your friend to visit you. Okay. So how long was that last paragraph? See there. About 70 words again. So like I said, it doesn't need to be that long. And I was just teaching a student earlier today, and they started to kind of panic when they saw the language that I was using. Now, English is my first language. Like, I learned English as a child. So it's not, it's my first language. It's no big deal for me to use whatever vocab I'm using. But what happened to this student earlier today was she saw the vocab I was using and she started to stress, saying, I'm not able to use that vocab. I'm not able to use the same vocab as you. But like, that's not the point that I'm trying to make. I'm not trying to say you should use the same vocab as me. If you don't have the same range of vocab as I do, well, then I'm not expecting you to use that. So when you look at my writing, I'm just showing you how to write an essay in terms of put your main idea at the start and then develop that idea. So you would use whatever grammar structures you're comfortable with. You would use whatever vocab you're comfortable with. If you keep it too simple to try to avoid mistakes, you'll get a low score because the range is too narrow. If you try to make it more complicated, you'll probably make mistakes that reduce the clarity of your writing. And in that situation, you'll often get a lower score because there's a lack of clarity. So you use whatever vocab and grammar you're comfortable with. So if you're looking at my writing going like, oh, his vocab and grammar is good, well, of course, it's my first language. In the same way, if you were writing this letter in your first language, your vocab and grammar would be good. So don't worry too much about the language I'm using. What I'm trying to show you more here is about how to develop the idea. So you have a main idea in the first sentence, and then you develop it in the rest of the paragraph. So that's what I'm trying to show you here. I'm not trying to highlight the vocab or grammar that you should use. That's not my intention. Okay, so the next thing we need to do then is we need to write the first sentence of body paragraph 3. So body paragraph 3 then is about the third prompt, invite your friend to visit you. Okay, so what I always want is I want that first sentence in that the response to the prompt in the first sentence. Okay, so invite your friend to visit you. I was wondering if you would be able to come and visit me here in Dublin sometime in the near future. Okay, so what we can see then is I've directly responded to the prompt. The prompt said, invite your friend to come visit you. And in the first sentence, I've invited my friend to come visit me. So that's done, right? Now, for the rest of the paragraph, I need to develop it. And the main thing is that you stay focused on what the prompt asked you to talk about. Don't start talking about other things. Keep yourself 100% focused on this prompt and try to write about 60 words. Okay, so let me finish this here. So I know it's quite far away, but on the train, it doesn't take too long and you can just sit down and relax. I would be able to collect you from the station and you could stay at my house for as long as you want. Okay, so again, what are we looking at there? That's about 67 words, so that's plenty long. And that's essentially the main part of my essay finished. And all we need to do then is we need to sign off at the end. So again, there are two ways to sign off. We can say something like for a formal letter, we would say something like yours sincerely. Or for a informal letter, it's kind regards. So I'm writing this letter to a friend. So I will say kind regards, and then I need to include my name. Now, again, if it was a formal letter, it would be my first name and my surname. But because I'm just writing to a friend, it will just be my first name like that. Okay, and that is our full essay done. We've managed to do that in 20 minutes with a bit of waiting around. So you can see task 1 is pretty straightforward, but just remember what I was saying, where if it's formal, you have to write in a formal style. Make sure you put the correct, like Dear Michael and kind regards and just your first name, and you avoid using overly formal grammar structures and cohesive devices and vocabulary. That's one of the main issues for students doing general training, is that including formal language in an informal letter like this can seriously affect the task achievement score, and vice versa. If you're writing a formal letter and you put informal language, that can affect the task achievement score. And that's kind of the biggest hurdle, I would say, for students in task 1 for general training. Like academic, the essays are kind of more complicated, but in general training, it's the wrong tone can really affect the score. So I think we'll leave it at that for today. I'll be back next week. I'll have a live stream next week for another part of the test. Next week will be task 2. So we'll probably have more people involved in that one. Kadam, let's see what you have for me here. I will work for a famous company. So I will work, not my. I will work for a famous company as a manager. And now you need a space after that full stop. I will sit on computer. So I will sit at a computer. So I don't think it's a big deal for me. So when you say it's not a big deal, like why would sitting at a computer not be a big deal? Or why would, if you weren't sitting at a computer, why would that be a big deal? So not a big deal. I don't really see the connection between sitting at a computer and being a big deal or not being a big deal. Like sitting at a computer could be quite stressful depending on your job, or you know, it's not like automatically being on a computer means it's not a big deal. And in what way? Like, do you mean a big deal as in challenging? It's not very clear, to be honest. Moreover, they said that my office has, that subject verb agreement, a good view of a river. So I'm happy about that. And again, you need a comma after the full stop or after the comma. So punctuation, vocabulary mistakes. There are times where you need to leave. Mainly your problem with punctuation is spaces. You need a space between the word famous and company, after the full stop, after the comma, between the word on and computer. You're making preposition mistakes, article mistakes. The big deal thing, it's not really clear how sitting at a computer isn't a big deal, or what it is you're trying to say there. So the coherence isn't very good. You need a space between the word good and view. Okay, so those would be the main things for you to focus on. And thank you for sharing. Okay, so we'll leave it at that for today. Like I said, I'll be back next week. We'll have a task 2 lesson. So it'll be the same thing, except I'll be sharing a task 2 question and we'll go through that together. Normally, I don't write the answers in these live streams. Normally, it's the students write the answers and I give feedback, but we just didn't get that many students today. So I had to change it up a bit. Okay, so that's it. Thanks, everybody. Take care and see you next week. Bye.